The note was sent from hell, and with it, a gruesome gift, half of a human kidney, preserved in a small box.
It begins with a letter. A piece of correspondence mailed not with a stamp of civility, but with a mark of pure malevolence. This was the terrifying calling card of a killer who haunted the autumn of 1888, a phantom born from the fog of London's East End. While London celebrated its status as the capital of the world, Whitechapel was its dark secret. A labyrinth of poverty, gin-soaked despair, and shadows where life was cheap. And into this desperate world, a new kind of monster came to hunt. One who would carve a legend with a blade, and be known only by a title. Jack the Ripper. In this investigation, we will dissect his crimes, follow the desperate hunt to unmask him, and explore the theories that continue to haunt us to this day. It began on August 31st, Mary and Nichols, known as Polly. A mother of 5, separated from her husband, her life had spiraled into the unforgiving world of the workhouse and the streets. She was last seen alive walking down Osborne Street. Just another soul trying to earn enough for a bed for the night. Her body was discovered in Bucks Row, her throat deeply slashed. The attack was savage, but it offered no clue as to the monster responsible. The police were baffled. Just 8 days later, the killer revealed a far more terrifying aspect of his madness. The victim was Annie Chapman. She was found in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. This time, the killer was not interrupted. The brutality was worse, but there was something else. Her womb had been skillfully excised and taken from the scene. The police surgeon reported that the act would have required anatomical knowledge. This was no random act of violence. This was the work of a hunter. September 30th would become infamous as the double event. The Ripper, growing bolder, killed 2 women in a single night. First, Elizabeth Stride. Her body was found in Dutfield's yard. It's believed the killer was interrupted during the act, as her body was not mutilated. The witness who discovered them had entered the yard only moments after the murder. Fleeing the scene, the Ripper's bloodlust was not satisfied. Less than an hour later, he found his next victim, Catherine Eddowes. Her body, found in Mitre Square, was horrifically mutilated. This time, the killer took her left kidney and a part of her uterus. He had finished what he started with Stride. Minutes later, a constable found a clue nearby on Golston Street, a piece of Catherine's blood-soaked apron. And above it, a chilling message was scrawled in chalk on the wall. It read, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." Was this the killer's handwriting? A vital clue? We'll never know. The police commissioner, fearing it would spark anti-Semitic riots, ordered it to be erased immediately. The final canonical murder was an act of unimaginable savagery, an inferno of violence that marked the terrifying climax of the Ripper's reign. The victim was Mary Jane Kelly. Unlike the others, she was killed indoors, in the privacy of her own small room at 13 Miller's Court. Here, the killer had all the time in the world. There would be no interruptions. The scene discovered the next morning was a vision from hell. The landlord's assistant who peered through the window could only utter, I can't describe it." The mutilation was so extreme that the victim was barely recognizable. As the body count rose, so did the media frenzy. Newspapers like the Illustrated Police News filled their pages with gruesome illustrations and wild speculation. Then, a letter arrived at the Central News Agency that would change everything. It was written in red ink, taunting the police and promising more to come. It was the first time the world saw the signature that would become immortal. The writer signed off as Jack the Ripper. Another postcard followed, the Saucy Jackie postcard, which seemed to reference the double event before the details were public, giving it an air of authenticity. A city was now held hostage by a name. Fear was palpable. Women refused to go out after dark. Men formed vigilance committees, patrolling the streets themselves, armed with sticks and lanterns. The police were overwhelmed, chasing hundreds of false leads and facing the public's fury. Even Queen Victoria herself was said to have taken an interest, suggesting her own theories. The hunt for one man had become the obsession of an entire empire. But who were they hunting for? The list of suspects was vast, stretching from the slums of Whitechapel to the highest echelons of society. But over time, a few names have remained stubbornly linked to the crimes. Montague John Druitt, a barrister and schoolteacher from a good family. He was found drowned in the River Thames shortly after the final murder. His own family suspected he was the Ripper, and a senior policeman's private notes labeled him as a primary suspect. Was his death a suicide born of guilt? Aaron Kosminski, a Polish-Jewish immigrant who worked as a hairdresser in Whitechapel. He was a paranoid schizophrenic with a known hatred of women. He was eventually committed to an asylum. A chief constable wrote that Kosminski was his suspect, but they could never gather enough evidence to charge him. George Chapman, whose real name was Severin Klosowski. He was a known killer, a poisoner who murdered 3 of his own wives. He had some medical training and lived in Whitechapel during the murders. The lead investigator, Frederick Aberline, personally favored him as the most likely Ripper. A more modern and controversial theory points to Walter Sickert, a celebrated artist known for his dark, moody paintings of London life. Proponents of this theory claim his paintings contain hidden confessions and that his DNA was found on one of the Ripper letters. But this evidence remains highly disputed. Druitt, Kosminski, Chapman, Sickert, and dozens more. The list of names is long, but the evidence is thin. The Ripper had dissolved back into the London fog, leaving only ghosts and speculation. After the horror of Mary Jane Kelly's death, the murders abruptly stopped. Why? Did the killer die? Was he imprisoned for another crime? Or did he simply satisfy his dark urges and walk away? The Ripper case, while a failure for the police, inadvertently sparked a revolution. It highlighted the need for new investigative techniques, leading to the birth of modern forensics and criminal profiling. His crimes have inspired countless books, films, and nightmares. The gruesome murders committed in a few short weeks created a legend that has overshadowed the lives of the women he killed. In the end, we are left where we began. In the dark, foggy streets of London, chasing a shadow. A killer without a face. A story without an ending. Perhaps that is his true legacy, not the terror he created, but the eternal, unanswered question he became.